I'm Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Here's Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, ready for the What the Heck podcast. And today, what I'd like to discuss is our brain. I have a lot of questions from patients all the time because there seem to be a lot of knowledge or information out there about hormones, about our gut, but the brain seems to be a topic that people are a little bit confused on what they can do. So I thought I would talk about our there's more than four, but four of the neurotransmitter. And the neurotransmitter are basically those little chemical messengers that our brain uses to communicate. So let's get started because I've got a lot of stuff to cover and a few stats that I would like to share. So the incidence, unfortunately, of brain disorder is on the rise. Many of you may have friends or family members that are affected. And I have to share that I do. My mom has Alzheimer's. She is in a home. And it is so sad to see cognitive decline like this. So to me, everything that we can do to make sure that we're decreasing inflammation, that we're taking care of our brain is very important. And it's even more important seeing it firsthand with my own mother, because like I said, it is a very devastating disease. 1 out of 8 senior citizen develops Alzheimer's these days. And there's also the impact for kids as well with ADD and ADHD and so forth. So there's definitely a global prevalence for dementia. And I think this is something that needs to be addressed. The brain is such a complex thing, and believe me, I'm not going to resolve or talk about everything that has to do with the brain. But at the end of the day, what we want is decrease inflammation, improve the communication. The brain is amazing in the fact that we have what's called plasticity, and there are ways to improve the communication and make our brain more efficient. And before I dig in, I want to do a disclaimer that this is not meant to diagnose anything or even have people take supplements or anything like that. When it comes to the brain, this is one thing that if you're taking a herb and you're taking some medication, interactions can be very devastating and can be dangerous. So if you are already taking a SSRI or an MOA, like just be really careful with this information. Consult your natural health practitioner to make sure that you can take. Now, if it's a vitamin, obviously we're consuming vitamins through our food. It's a different story. So I just wanted to do a disclaimer that what I wanted to do today is cover the 4 of the neurotransmitters, what they do, just to increase your awareness and start thinking in a way that you want to support your brain. So the 4 neurotransmitter I want to cover, the first one is acetylcholine, which is the learning and the memory neurotransmitter. The second one is what is often referred to as our happy hormone. And the third one is GABA, which I won't bother you with what it stands for, but it's our anti-anxiety neurotransmitter. And then the fourth one is dopamine, which has been coined to be our pleasure and reward neurotransmitter. It's kind of our motivation molecule. And like I said, today is just about creating awareness that those 4 neurotransmitters exist and have an impact on how we feel. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter at the end of our neurons, basically. Serotonin is produced produced a lot in the gut. Dopamine is produced by different areas of the brain. GABA is also released by hormones. So you can see how complex it is. And again, the goal here is to tell you what they do. So what would be the symptom of somebody having acetylcholine issues? Loss of visual and photographic memory, loss of verbal memory, memory lapse, impaired creativity, decrease in comprehension, difficulty with numbers, difficulty recognizing object and faces, slowness of mental response, difficulty with direction and spatial orientation. And I have to say, with my mother having Alzheimer's, these are pretty much her symptom, and symptom of dementia and Alzheimer are very much oftentimes symptoms of acetylcholine impairment. I'm not going to get into the medication and all that stuff. Today is just about creating that awareness, what those neurotransmitters do. So the next slide here is choline boosting foods. So liver and organ meats, egg yolk, beef. So you can see the animal products as well, with the milk with fat, fatty cheese. We've got tofu, nuts, and cream. So those foods are high in choline, which will help boost our choline. Now, in terms of supplements, we have LU, it's hard to pronounce, huperzine A, alpha PPC with polyphenol phosphate, phosphatidylcholine, so that's why we abbreviated with PPC. L-acetylcarnitine is as well a strong supporter, and pentatonic acid, which is vitamin B5, is also. Again, I'm not saying that if you're experiencing all of those symptoms, you should jump into those nutritional compounds. This is not what I'm suggesting, but it's something to look into. And of course, a clean, healthy diet, high in leafy green vegetables, the color of the rainbow when it comes to fruits and vegetables is important. So it's not as straightforward or as black and white as taking a supplement, a specific supplement. The next one is our serotonin, which symptoms of serotonin deficiency could be loss of pleasure in hobby and interest, feeling of inner rage and anger, feeling of depression, or affected by lack of light. And I know I'm in Ottawa, and it has been pretty dark in the last, I would say, 3 weeks. We already have snow on the ground, which is early for that time of year. And difficulty finding joy from life, pleasures, unable to fall into deep, restful sleep. And by the way, if any of you that are watching the podcast want to chime in and let us, or feel comfortable of sharing some symptoms, or, you know, if you are feeling that you're affected, by the different seasons and so forth. So estrogen is a big component too when it comes to the sensitivity of serotonin. So that's why it's important to have a good estrogen progesterone balance as well. Now, the foods that are high in serotonin are salmon, poultry, eggs, spinach, seeds, dairy, fermented non-GMO soy, and nuts as well. And you may recall earlier I mentioned that serotonin is in great part produced in our gut. So gut health becomes key to make sure that we are absorbing our food, but also that we are producing this so important serotonin level. So making sure that we're not irritating our digestive tract and having what is often referred to irritable bowel syndrome. So these things need to be addressed. And I think I can probably do an entire podcast on the gut-brain connection, which I think actually we should. And I can think of a few guests that I can invite to discuss that. So serotonin boosting foods. Now, nutritional compound. Again, I'm going to do the disclaimer here. 5-HTP, tryptophan, and St. John's wort, and SAMI. Again, you don't want to start taking those if you're already taking medication. But if you're not, it can be a good place to start. But I would always recommend to work with your natural health practitioner. It doesn't mean because it's on the shelf that it's the right thing for you. So I think it's important. We also have B6, niacinamide, yeah, I pronounced it right. Magnesium citrate, methyl B12, folic acid, and iron can be also very important as well. The third neurotransmitter that I want to talk about is called GABA. And some of the feeling of, or the symptoms, I should say, of GABA deficiency could be feeling of anxiousness and panic. So you can see a bit of the difference with the serotonin, which was more like depression. This one is, more towards anxiety. So feeling of dread, feeling of inner tension and excitability, feeling of being overwhelmed, restless mind, hard to turn the mind off. This is something that I hear often. Disorganized attention, worrying about things you never had thought of before, and even before you should start worrying about certain things. So these are the symptoms. GABA boosting foods, we've got almonds, tree nuts, bananas, beef liver, broccoli, brown rice, halibut, and mackerel as well. And some of those foods are high in tryptophan, so it will increase the conversion to 5-HTP and as well. So it's it becomes a win-win. And nutritional compound: valerian root, passion flower extract, L-theanine, taurine, B6, magnesium, zinc, and manganese as well have been shown to help support our production of GABA as well. But again, you want to be careful, not to start something if you're already on a medication. Some of them, as you see, you can get through your food. So I'm always a big proponent of doing food first and see what you can do from a diet point of view to boost those compounds. The fourth one is dopamine. Symptoms of low dopamine is inability to self-motivate, inability to start or finish tasks, feeling of worthlessness, hopelessness, lose of temper for minor reason, anger, aggression while under stress, desire to kind of be left alone. So these are the symptoms of dopamine being decreased. Dopamine boosting foods: beets and green leafy vegetables, apples, bananas, watermelon, coffee and green tea, sesame and pumpkin seed, almonds, oatmeal, avocado, turmeric, chocolate, sea vegetable, and all animal products. All of those will help boost your dopamine levels. Nutritional compound: curcumin, L-theanine, selenium, ginkgo biloba, alpha-lipoic acid, and acetylcysteine, phenylalanine, and acetyltyrosine, and vitamin B6 and the active form, which is the P5P. Now, I realize, again, this is a lot of information, and I'm not saying, okay, I'm not motivated these days, I'm going to take those 9 supplements and hope that I get more motivated. It's not that easy, but the whole goal of sharing this information today was to make you aware, because I think that's what's happening, is that a lot of people are, I think, scared to talk about more mental issues. It's not something we're going to necessarily share to say, geez, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. It's kind of something that we hide because we don't want to share that with other people. So there are some information out there, but it can get confusing. And like I said, one has to be really cautious. And that's, again, the disclaimer that I will finish with, is that we have to be very careful not to have different supplements and medication, because they can truly interact. So hopefully this was helpful to you to, increase your awareness that, first of all, the brain is a really complex thing. And if we want to, have optimal brain function, if we want to make sure that we decrease our chances of have cognitive impairments as we age, these are all things that we didn't take in consideration. But that being said, you saw with the nutritional compounds suggestion that it goes back to we are what we eat. And I know it sounds cliche to say, but it is so true. And you can see that we also need a variety of foods. And unfortunately, as creature of habits, I mean, habits are good. This is why I wrote the book, Hack Your Health Habits. But we sometimes get in the habit of eating the same foods. The consequence to that is we might develop a sensitivity, but the consequence to that as well is we're not getting all the nutrients from the different types of food. So hopefully this was helpful and it created some awareness. There's great information online that you can read. And if you're not taking any medication, you know, this is a good place to start, but I strongly suggest working with your natural health practitioner. And if you're already taking some medications, and you know, you definitely want to have a discussion to make sure that you are taking the right things. So this was Dr. Natalie Beauchamp. Oh, and before I forget, if you would like to text the word hack at the phone number 716-203-1356. What you will get is the first section of my book, Hack Your Health Habits. The first section in the table of contents, so you'll see all the information that is in there. And I do have a whole section on the brain as well, and how you know, it's important to decrease that inflammation. And the book talks about decreasing the inflammation as well. So for next week on my podcast, I'm really excited. Not that I wasn't excited about the other guests, but and I'm not going to mention her name yet. I'm going to keep it a surprise. But my guest for next week is also an author who has published great books that I, to this day, use as my reference guide to purchase a lot of the products that I use. So I'm super excited to have a conversation with her. We could probably do a podcast of an hour with the knowledge that she has. So I'm super excited about that. So have a great week, everyone. And I hope you can tune in next week, Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This was Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and go out there and hack your health habits. We'll talk to you next week. I'm Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. This has been a Wellness on the Go production.